Hey guys, after a year of waiting, I am finally pleased to announce that the Unofficial Crusader Patch, or UCP, has finally made yet another release. The link to the latest version, which is 2.15, will be down in the description below, so definitely go check that out. Now, before we get into what 2.15 actually brings us, I just want to cover one thing very quickly. This is not something that the UCP has asked me to cover, but I think it is important to be covered. A lot of people over the last year have been asking for the release date. And as soon as this one comes out, I'm sure people are going to start asking about the next release date. The answer for the Unofficial Crusader Patch team is always the same. The UCP is unwilling to give out release dates ahead of time. The reason for this is that they are a team of volunteers. They've got a lot of stuff in their real life situation that can flare up at any moment and make it so they cannot actually meet a release date that they've announced. So to avoid disappointment and frustration within the community and with themselves, they do not give out any release dates. There is a way, however, that we can help the UCP to improve their release rate. And that is testing. The biggest bottleneck at the moment, as far as I have seen, is in the area of feature testing. There is a great video by the current UCP team project leader, whatever you want to call him, krarilotus. I'll link that down into the description below as well, telling you exactly how to go about testing all the new features, and if you are able to assist with that, the UCP team will be greatly thankful, and the whole community will appreciate your input. The testing process, but basically it boils down to looking onto the GitHub for all the new features that might be there, downloading the build that comes with the feature, and then seeing if you can break it. You don't need any technical knowledge for that. You just need to be able to jump into a game, kind of think through what the feature's doing and what it can affect, and try to figure out how it can stop working, and then detail exactly what you tried and what broke and what didn't break, so that they know what to test and what no longer needs testing. So if you can, do it. Now let's get into 2.15 features. The first feature of 2.15 is more of an edit to an existing feature. A previous version of the Unofficial Crusader Patch introduced a feature called Fixed Reinforcement of Defense Troops. Now if you actually open that up and go into the description for it, you'll note that there's actually two features in there. The first part fixes the reinforcement of troops on the walls for the AIs, and the second part increases the chances that they will recruit more defense troops. Now with the AIC that's been introduced since that feature came out, the probability of recruiting defensive troops can now be customized by the AIC editors and directly in the AIC files, which means that this part of the feature actually overrides the AIC, which means that the rest of the feature can kind of be not good overall. So they have split that second part out, so it's just fix the reinforcement on the walls and no longer changing the likelihood of the defense recruitment. The second feature allows you to change how long an AI will exclusively recruit defensive troops. By default, I think this value is about 6 months, meaning that as a player you'll never have to defend an attack until at least 6 months has passed in the game. Now that can be changed, so you can be attacked almost immediately, or you can wait a while and allow yourself to build up a bit longer. And to be honest, being able to be attacked pretty much straight away can make things very interesting. I am looking forward to playing around with that one. The next feature is half AI improvement, half bug fix. In Vanilla Crusader, the AIs cannot light pitch with European archers, which is why you'll notice that the wolf will never light his pitch ditches. He actually has them, but with Vanilla, he doesn't have any Arabian archers to light the pitch ditches, and so it never gets lit, so you may as well not have them. Now, Wolf has pitch ditches and will make it a lot more harder to attack the wolf. The final AI change for 2.15 is a change to the housing logic. by default in Vanilla Crusader, the AI will stop building houses when they have 5 workers at the campfire. They won't build any more, so you can't have more available for recruiting or whatever. And then they will delete houses if they have more than 21 workers at the campfire. So say they lost a few buildings and they've got more workers gone back to the campfire, and they've got like 30 workers now, which is more than they would normally have, but they just managed to get that because you destroy buildings. That will mean that they will destroy a couple houses and take their popularity hit until they get down below 20 workers, and that is not ideal. You can now modify that so you can have them not delete houses ever, and you can change when they build new houses and when they stop, and so on and so forth, and that should make the AIs a lot more efficient as well. Now onto the bug fixes. This section is probably going to be the primary set of changes for 2.15. I personally am referring to 2.15 as the bug fix version, because there's quite a few and they're actually pretty good ones. Have you ever noticed that when you try to dig a moat, a bunch of your soldiers will often disappear? That's actually not intended. I actually thought for years that was actually meant to be, it was them drowning or whatever, but it's actually not. And 2.15 has mostly fixed this bug. It is still possible to lose your diggers, but it's not nearly as common as it was previously. Now, in certain conditions, when bakers were going to get flour from the stockpile, they find that the stack has already been emptied before they get there, and they'll just have a complete mental breakdown and disappear into the ether. Now there is a fix which will just calm them down a little bit and just tell them, just go look for another stack of flour. This doesn't have to be a big deal. And it seems to work quite well, so thank you, UCP. Weapons workers by default go from delivering their weapons at the armory straight to the stockpile to pick up the next resource, and then back to their workshop. Fletchers, however, will use a little bit of a cheap trick trying to get out of working too hard, and once they deliver their weapons, they will return to their workshop and then go to the stockpile. So the UCP had a bit of a chat with them. He made them spend a little bit of time in the dungeons until they agreed to go straight to the stockpile from the armory, like all their fellow weapons workers. Those tanners, those sneaky tanners, they are worse than the Fletchers. If they get to the dairy farm and notice the cow that they came to get isn't there anymore, they just walk back home, enjoy the scenic walk. And the dungeons didn't really help here, so the UCP team had to put several of them into the stocks for a couple of weeks. Now, after that, the tanners have agreed that they'll just simply look for another cow before returning home empty-handed. And if there's another cow there, they'll go pick that one up instead. If you've noticed that when you place apple farms, the amount of land that is actually used up by the farm is actually less than the amount of space that the town planners tell you need to have to be able to place it. Well, the town planners changed their minds about this after seeing what happened to the tanners. So now you can actually build those apple farms in a smaller area. The UCP team fixed a bug this introduced, which I suspect was sabotaged by the town planners, where if you block a certain tile on the side of the apple farm, the farm is not able to be used at all. So if you want to use either of these features, make sure you enable both. Now, getting out of the economy now, some units would sometimes freeze and panic after climbing up ladders and forget where they were supposed to go once they got up there. The UCP team has managed to reprogram the fight or flight response part of these Boar Souls brains so they can run right into the meat grinder without hesitation. The Lord, however, can be a little bit clumsy when destroying buildings, and he gets his axe stuck in the ground. The UCP have taught him a few tricks so that he can get his axe unstuck, and so he shouldn't get it stuck after destroying buildings anymore. What is the UCP without its quality of life features? Well, a pretty amazing piece of work. However, these quality of life features make the UCP worth its while in its own right. So what is new in the quality of life features? The game speed limit has been increased yet again.
It's over 9,000! What, 9,000? There's no way that can be right!
So now you can get it up to 10,000. The game tick rate can now be updated 4 times as fast. Have you ever destroyed a tower and your units want to wait for the dust to clear before they let you order them to march into the enemy castle? Well, that wait time is severely reduced by this feature. You may have noticed that the AI keeps rotate based on location on the map, so that the campfire is always facing away from the center. Now you can make the player keeps do the same thing. Now the final quality of life feature is a bit of a niche feature, to be honest. It allows you to set a random number seed. I won't go into too much detail about this one, as most of you probably won't ever need it. Basically, this allows AI-only games to be identical game after game after game, assuming the map is the same, of course, as the random number generator will generate the same number at the same time every time. It's just the way the random number generators work in computers. It allows that to happen. Human action will also use the random number generator, so generally for human games, it will generally render the seed useless. The only effect the seed feature has on human games is that the AI will select the same AIV to build every time. The moment you get into the game, however, it is no longer going to have any effect. It turns out that the engineers were not meant to be an entirely European unit. And the UCP team have spoken to the hiring managers in the Engineers Guild about the apparent racism of recruiting European engineers for Arabian Lords. And those hiring managers have agreed to open up recruitment to the Arabian population of Arabian Lords. The UCP team did not explain how they convinced them of this, however I do understand that lawyers were involved. One commonly requested balance update is Spearmen always running. As you may know, the Spearmen always run on aggressive and triggered, but not normally. And the UCP has convinced them to run all the time instead. Finally, we have an area where the UCP team are improving themselves. The behavior when installing new AIVs lacked a little bit of logic originally, and depending on how you installed it, the uninstall feature often removed all of your AIVs entirely, which is not good. So this has been resolved so that when you install AIVs, it will back up your vanilla AIVs into a backup folder, and when you uninstall the UCP, it will return your files from the backup folder. And whenever you install new AIVs, it will check, and if it's not the same as already installed, then they'll ask you if you want to back up your existing ones to somewhere else. That's going to reduce a lot of issues coming from uninstalling the game. That's it for UCP 2.14. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know down in the comments below which your favorite feature is, and if you have any ideas on what you think should be included in the Unofficial Crusader Patch 2.16, let me know down in the comments. Let the UCP team know on the GitHub issues or on the UCP Discord. If you like this content and want to see more from me, like and subscribe. I do also stream to YouTube 2 times a week. Generally it's Thursday and Sunday. Depending on your local time zone, it can change. Check when the last ones were, and you can do that, or go along to my Discord. I give notifications when I go live. Check that out. I generally stream a multiplayer in a bootstrap mode, which is a 0 gold start, 0 stone. Means that it's a lot slower build up and you don't have any peacetime. It makes it a lot more complex game start. I find it very entertaining. Come along and check it out, see what you think. And I shall catch you guys next time.